is Tranisha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about my soul. So, what made me want to talk about my soul is earlier today I was listening to a sermon. I know I always started off like that, but these sermons are so inspirational. I really feel like God really put something on my heart. He really gives me a revolution or something every day. Every day I feel like there's something that he places on my heart that really makes me think. It really makes me see the goodness of God. And it's so funny because at first I was going to call this joy, like unspeakable joy, because when you seek God, you really do find this joy that's undescribable. It's something that you can't, no one who doesn't know God will ever be able to understand the joy that you feel. And you can't even understand it sometimes. And it's so crazy because you could seek your whole life trying to find happiness and trying to find peace in somebody else. And when you find God, it's everything that you need. The things that you thought that you could find in another individual, another friend, another job, or whatever it is nothing like what God can do for you. And it's so crazy. I had to be transparent in this moment because I need to be real. I know I talk about like being tough and, how I would have standards. And, I did say that I messed up before and things like that. And I want to be honest because I want people who are struggling in the way that I was to know that there is better, that there will be better, and not to feel like just because you have a moment or just because you feel a certain type of way doesn't mean that your faith is lacking. That means that's a normal human reaction. And it doesn't mean that you turn away from God. It doesn't mean that God is abandoning you. It just means that it's not time yet. And I really had this moment. I'm gonna tell you like a little quick story, and it won't matter because the person probably never watches these videos, and it won't matter anyways because I'm here to be transparent, and this is about me, my side of the story. This is about what I'm going through. It's I never claim to understand what the other person is feeling or how the other person feels about me or their intentions for me or anything like that. I just talk from what I know, what I experienced. So for people that do watch it, I want you to know that it has nothing to do with me trying to say a person is or isn't a good person or a bad person or whatever else. It's just for me to tell my truth. And so, and I say my truth because, there's always that story that there's your side, their side, and then the truth. But, I did have a conversation with a family member who likes to discuss theories with me, and we like to go and dive into like different theories and different experiments, different like things in the world in general. Like anything that's relevant, something new, something that's like controversial or something else. We'll talk about things like that. And so in our discussion we were talking about how it's three truths or they're all the truth because from the outside looking in, someone who is unbiased could say, this is the truth. On your side, this is your truth. This is what you truly believe happened, unless you're just flat out lying. But this is what you truly believe is happening. On the other side, this is what this person truly believes is happening. It's not that either one of you is lying. It's that in your opinion, this is real. This is what really happened. And so we were saying, he was saying that no, everybody's telling the truth. I was saying, well, in essence, that would mean that there's three truths because the unbiased opinion, someone who doesn't have their emotions in it, could say this. On each side, both people believe that this is the real truth because this is their truth. So today I'm just going to talk about my truth. And this is what I went through in the past. Like, this is after I rededicated my life to God. And yes, I fall sometimes still. So I met this person who's an incredible person. no, I have no bad things to say about this person at all. I'm not here to like dog anyone out or make anyone feel badly or talk down about anybody at all. This is just what happened to me. Okay, so I meet this incredible person who is everything I think I could ever want. Like very kind, very sweet, very patient, very understanding, and the type of things, the type of person that you would think that you should be with. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is the person. I know that sounds so crazy because I barely know this individual, but this is how, like, in my mind I was thinking. And I had like being single. So, this person had to be really convincing. So, so I was just like, oh, wow, this seems like a really decent person. I could really, like, I could see this person, as something, not like I want to be with this person, but like I could see how this person would fit in this area of my life. This makes sense this way, or not make sense, but I could see these things. Like, this is what I would want. Not what I need, but this is what I would want for my life. Like, I would want someone to be patient and understanding and kind. I would want for other people to see me being treated well, things like that. And it wasn't that the person, like, I don't have anything bad to say about the person at all. And on my side, the things that I really truly needed, not the things that I wanted, that person could not do at all. And it was a real struggle for me because I couldn't understand. Like, I started having like some kind of insecurities. Like, honestly, this is just me being real. I started to feel like there's nothing wrong with this person. They just can't give me what it is that I actually need. Like, they are everything that I want. Everything. But yes, they were everything that I could have wanted. Like, handsome and kind and patient and understanding, and I mean a beautiful soul. Like, you would think, okay, well, so what is it that you could possibly need that this person didn't give you? But it was just like immediately when we met, there was like this strange connection right away. And then it was like, I don't know how to explain it. And I don't know if this is like a tell or whatever, like on my part, like a foreshadowing of sorts. But but when I got a hug, I felt this super powerful tension, like overwhelmed. Like, I just felt like it felt amazing, but I just really felt like pulling back for some reason. And it wasn't anything that the person did at all. It wasn't that they did something wrong. It wasn't that they weren't like perfect. It literally was like something inside of me was just like, and just, I just completely tensed up and closed off. And I just couldn't, I don't know. I don't know if it was just because I wasn't ready or if it was just because it wasn't the person that was supposed to be for me, anyways. And so then it goes through this long journey, and I just keep trying to tell myself that maybe it's because I'm not ready. Maybe it's because, I just, like, everyone thinks that this person is awesome, and this person is awesome. Like, it's not that there's any dig that or anything bad that I could possibly say about this person at all. And I just start feeling like, okay, well, maybe I need to do this more. Maybe I need to give more of this. Maybe I need to do this way. Then slowly I started changing some things about myself that I didn't even want to change. I started to get more like shy instead of being so sure of myself as I was before. I started to feel myself slip back into the person that I was in the toxic relationship instead of being who I truly was. And it wasn't, the person didn't say anything out of the way. They didn't say that I wasn't doing something right. They didn't say that I needed to change who I was. Like, it was all like in my head. It was all me. It was something inside of me that just felt like, okay, well, if I'm feeling this way and this person is like D near perfect, then something is wrong with me. Like, I really truly felt like it's something that I'm doing wrong. I have to be the issue. It has to be something that I'm not doing right. Like, why wouldn't I want this person? Why wouldn't I want to be with this person? Why do I not, why do I feel like so closed off around this person? Why do I feel like I want to pull back when this person seems perfectly capable of being a decent person? But there was no good communication. Like when we were face to face, of course. And so it wasn't that this person was doing anything wrong. Maybe they were feeling the same thing. I don't know. Maybe they were feeling like this person is beautiful and smart and, a good communicator for the most part. And it's just something that's making me want to pull back. And I feel like it's because we weren't supposed to be together or we weren't supposed to be with each other. I think that in my mind, because we were in similar situations, because we went through the same things, because we were both good people, I was thinking, oh yeah, so it makes sense for, in my mind, like this just seems like the natural thing. This just seems like it doesn't make any sense why it wouldn't work, you know? And I really truly felt like, okay, well, I must be doing something wrong. And I immediately felt like all of this insecurity. Like, okay, if this person's not giving me this, then obviously I'm not good enough. It's not because anything's wrong with that person, because everyone thinks this person is perfect. So what's wrong with me is what I kept feeling. And every month I would go through this perpetual cycle of cynicism and negativity and just doubt. I started to feel like doubtful towards God in a way. Like not doubtful that God was gonna make it happen, but doubtful in like, okay, why would I meet an amazing person that I could never be with? That makes no sense to me. Like I was trying to wrap my brain around it to understand why I even need to come in contact with this person that I would never get to be with. It was like it felt like Satan was rubbing it in my face like, see, even when it comes to a good person, you will still not be good enough. It's like what Satan kept like throwing in my face, like, and it kept making me want to push harder for something that I knew wasn't even for me. Like it kept making me want to do more, like to be more, to like prove that I would actually be good enough, like in a way. And it wasn't like I had to prove to that person because I don't owe them anything. It just felt like for me, for myself, after all the work that I've done, after all the healing, like I was like, okay, I'm perfectly healed. I'm where I want to be. I like my skin is glowing. Like my body is in the best shape it's ever been. Like I'm like learning so much stuff. I'm educating myself. I know I need to grow. I know I need to be better. I don't think that I'm perfect. And I was like, I'm in the perfect position where I love being single. And so it just made sense to me, like that, like it was nothing, no reason why, it shouldn't have been worked out or whatever. Like nothing happened at all. Like we didn't even get to the start line. This is how crazy it is. And I still went through all of these things. And I know for some people it's going to be a little bit more because, you're like more open to people and maybe you don't pull back or anything like that. So by the time you figure it out, it's a year later. Or by the time you figure it out, you've invested in a relationship and you've started like doing all of this stuff and maybe you want to get more serious with the person's breadcrumbing you or whatever else, and then nothing ever happens. But for me, it was like I knew, I knew in a week that nothing could happen. Like I just knew, but inside of me, I couldn't let go. I couldn't just. I felt like I was disappointing myself in a way. Like I felt like I worked so hard to be better, and then for me to just not be good enough for someone who seemed like they were good enough or seemed was the near perfect. It's like, okay, obviously I'm doing something wrong. Obviously I'm missing something. Like it didn't make sense to me in my mind. I felt like I constantly wanted to prove to myself that no, after you've been through all of this, you deserve this. Like, I know that sounds so conceited, arrogant, egotistical, like just really distasteful on my part because I wasn't being humble about that. I wasn't taking into consideration the fact that that person could not even be ready. I wasn't taking into consideration the fact that God could have something totally different for me. And yes, these are the things that I want, but it might not be what I truly need. Maybe I don't need someone who won't be a good communicator when, or who won't see my value. Like I would obviously need someone who would see my value, who would appreciate all of the time, like any time that they get to spend with me or whatever else. Not someone who would take it for granted. And I know that, you know that watching this video, everybody on the outside whose heart isn't in it, who didn't feel anything or wasn't so closed off and never wanted to let anyone in or like turned down hundreds of guys and then gave this one guy a chance and then felt like you just completely disappointed yourself because the one person you gave a chance to didn't even see your value either. It's like a slap in the face in a way. And so like it took a while for me to get over it, to just like really just not be so hard on myself and to realize that it's okay. Like not everybody is going to like you, even though I know that. It's okay. Like it doesn't matter how much you've healed. If it's not right, it's not right. It doesn't matter what you went through in the past. It doesn't matter if the person is a good person or a bad person. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And it's like for people who are watching this video, they're going to say, oh, that makes sense. That's perfectly normal. I mean, everybody knows that until you get in a situation. And it's like that poison, that little, it's like, trying to think of a good example. Oh, there was this pastor. That was like a less example. I don't know if I want to say that one. But it's like, you know that one thing that you eat or you do that you know is so bad for you, but at the moment it's like instant gratification, and then afterwards you feel miserable. Like you might eat that food or whatever it is that you know is no good for you. It's so delicious when you taste it, and then afterwards you feel like crap. But every time you see that food that you like, you're like, I can't wait to get my hands on that. I can't wait to eat that food again. And it's just like so appetizing. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like if I could just get another bite of that, and you just can't stop eating it because it's so delicious, but then afterwards you feel like crap again. That's how it is when you allow someone to be a part of your life, or you give someone an opportunity to be in your life that shouldn't be there, or when you keep hanging on to something that's not for you, or you keep going back to something that's going nowhere. It's just like that terrible food that makes you feel miserable, but at the moment feels amazing. Like it's the best food that you've ever had in your life. You know that soul food that hits the spot and then you get the itis afterwards because your food's not processing and it still takes all day for it to digest throughout your system. It's like that. It like really in a relationship or in a friendship or in a situationship or whatever you want to call these things that's happening in the world, it's exactly like that, because you are putting that into your soul, you're putting that into your heart, you're opening your heart to all of these things, these toxins that are going into your body that need time to process out. And by the time that you get it out of your system, or you feel like, okay, that's good, I'm not going to eat this type of food anymore. When you see it, sometimes after it's been a while, or it's been a couple weeks, or it's been a month, you forget that horrible feeling that you felt and you want more of it. And that's exactly how it feels when you're getting breadcrumb. That's exactly how it feels when you see something that you like and you can't have it, or you know it's not good for you. That is exactly how it's like in these situationships. That's exactly how it's like when Satan gives you something that you think that you need, but really it's what you want. It's exactly like that. And I was listening to this sermon today on the way home after I had to deal with some personal stuff. And I know I could have paused it, but that's okay. It's all right. Okay. And as the pastor was preaching, he said that you always think that God is keeping something from you, but he's keeping you for something else. And when he said it, I was like, that's a whole word because it's so true. You keep, whenever you really truly want something in life, whether it's a job or a person, a lot of women in situationships or men in situationships, you see this woman that seems like she's everything that you could possibly want, and she's she's beautiful. She is making you jealous, like envious of all the envy of all your friends. And you see her, you're talking to her, and you just feel like the man. And she only calls you when she needs something. And you really just you feel empty. But when she's around, you just feel full because she's satisfying in every other way except for intellectually and when it comes to feeding your soul. And you keep feeling like you don't understand why this woman can't want you the way that you want her or in the right way. And it's because, and it's not that you're doing something wrong. I mean, you staying around, of course, is like not healthy. And also, when you're keeping her around, you are missing out on all the blessings that God could be giving you, all the women that God could be introducing into your life. And that's the same way for women. When you keep around this situationship, when you keep this person in your life who is not, is not going anywhere, you are not allowing the man who's really going to see your value, the woman who's really going to see your value. You're not allowing them an opportunity, a real opportunity to be there, to be seen, so that God can present you blemish and spot free. He wants you to be seen as that person's wife or that person's husband, not as some guy, like he really wants you to have what's for you. And every time you keep praying or you keep thinking, oh, I just want this relationship to work, and it's not going to work, that person is not really, we know deep down, deep down that that woman doesn't really want you. She wants you for your money, or she wants you for the things that you do for her or whatever else. And for women, we know when a man is just breadcrumbing us and he gives us just enough to keep us there, like just a taste to like make you feel like you're eating something, but really you're not getting fulfilled. And I don't know about you, but I don't want a teaser. I don't want an appetizer. I want the whole meal. I'm trying to be full. I don't want to overeat and be greedy, but I do want to be full. I want to be filled. And I can't be filled on a bite, on a breadcrumb. I can't be filled on an appetizer. I can only be filled with a full course meal. I want the emotion. I don't, and I don't mean like overly emotional or anything like that. And I'm not trying to tell someone how to act. I'm just saying I want to be emotionally connected. I want to be able to be vulnerable. I want communication and reciprocity, consistency. That's all the things I'm going to need to eat in my meal in order for me to feel appreciated as a woman, in order for me to feel valued as a woman, in order for me to feel like someone appreciates me completely. I would not feel that if I'm missing any one of those things. If I'm missing consistency, consistency is a part of maturity. Being mature is being consistent and being there for the people who actually need you. If someone can't do that, then why are you there? Communication. Communication is the base of every relationship, and the mind is the largest sexual organ on the body. If I can't be emotionally, if I can't be mentally penetrated and stimulated, then what are you doing there? When it comes to reciprocity, I can't give everything and get nothing back. I can't just keep pouring from an empty cup. I can't deplete myself and be emotionally depleted, physically depleted, psychologically, mentally depleted. I can't be in a place where I have nothing to give to the people who love me because I'm giving to someone who barely cares about my well-being. Because you can't possibly care about someone's well-being if you're willing to deplete them from the things that they love. And I just think that we all need to take a moment and really think about what's important in our lives because life is way too short. We don't know. We don't know how many opportunities God is going to give us, how many more minutes or hours or weeks or days, months, years God is going to be able to give us in this lifetime. And every moment that we waste, and I only say waste to drive the point home. I'm not saying that you didn't learn something. So maybe now that you know that you don't want to get breadcrumbed, or now that you know that you only want to be able to give the people time that actually appreciate the time that they're getting from you, or something like that, is something that you needed to learn. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in general, when it comes to our lives being so precious, when it comes to us being given the gift of life that not everyone gets to have, or at your age, or at this moment is a moment that you'll never get back ever again in your life. Life goes by so fast. You don't want to willingly give up 15 years of your life for no reason. You don't want to constantly keep trying to prove to yourself that you are better just because of a person. When a person doesn't define you, you're already good enough without the person. You don't have anything to prove. You're not going to be perfect, and it's going to be fine. You might think that you have to prove to yourself that you can do this, that you are healthy, that you can actually be in a healthy relationship, or that this is because this person is toxic. That's why they didn't want you. But everyone is entitled to their own opinion and their own preferences for what it is that they want for their lives. It's nothing that you can do about it, and it's not a dig at you. Don't feel like you have to prove anything to yourself because God got you. God is not going to let you go out like that. He's not going to present a near perfect person in your life and leave you hanging. He's not going to show you someone who's supposed to be in your life and then allow them to not be any of the things that you need. He is not a God that he should lie ever. God is not just some mean kid just trying to put stuff in your face and make you feel badly and then pull it away from you at a moment's notice. He's not trying to make you feel empty. Anything that makes you feel lack is all Satan, because God would never give you something that wouldn't fill you, nothing that wouldn't be of abundance. And I don't mean seasonally when you need to be humbled. I don't mean seasonally when you need to take this lesson from this job or be a good steward in this season as lack. That is an opportunity for you to grow and become stronger. That is not a lack. What I mean by lack is anything that is pulling from you everything that you need is not God. Anything that is making you feel like you have to rush is not God. Anytime you have to put forth so much effort that you deplete yourself, it's not God. If you feel in your soul and your intuition that this isn't right, that this isn't for you, listen to your intuition. It doesn't matter who the person is, and it doesn't mean that that person is good or bad. It just means that that person is not for you. And it might be hard, especially if the person is perfect. Like, it might not make any sense at all. But you know in your soul, you know, and I don't mean like soulmate thing. I mean like you know in your intuition whether something is or isn't settling. Like settling in your soul, settling in your spirit. When your spirit is disrupted, when you feel like something isn't right. I'm so, I don't want to say emotionally, I guess I could say empathetic, that when things happen, I notice so quickly. It's ridiculous. And then I try to convince myself that maybe this is wrong. Like, no, like, don't just judge to like make a snap judgment like that. Like, do you really want to do that? I go back and forth with one of those because I'm just like, there's no way I can know in one day. There's no way I can know in one phone conversation or one date or something like that that I could already decide and determine. Like, I haven't even given this person a real chance. But if you feel in your intuition, and I don't mean you just haven't healed and you're just not trying to give somebody a real chance. I mean, when you really know that something's not right. Like, God is so good. And at first, I was thinking, like, what is wrong with me? Like, this makes no sense. But when you pray for discernment, God is going to give you discernment. Real talk. Like, be careful what you pray for because He's going to come with it. Like, I was like, God, when I'm out in these streets, and I gotta stop saying that because my family member said that means something different. And so when I'm out here in the dating world, which AKA in my version means in these streets, but not in the way that I guess society means it. So maybe I don't say that, but when I'm out here and I meet people, I could tell from the first conversation, I could tell from the first couple days of phone conversations, whatever else it is, that this person is or is not for me. Sometimes it's one conversation and I could tell that our values don't line up and it's not going to work. I just know because I asked for the power of discernment. I don't think it has anything to do with me personally, even though I am empathetic. I think it really has to do with because I told God I don't want to waste any time. Because I mean, not told him, I asked him to please allow me to not waste any time because I don't want to be a month later, a year later in a situation that's going nowhere. I don't want to be talking to someone whose values don't line up with me, who's not equally yoked. Like, when people say they're God-ish, I'm like, oh, that's not the person for me because I'm all about Jesus. Like, we need to be about that Jesus life. I can't, there's no way we're not going to have confused children walking around. Like one of us is talking about like, let's go to church and maybe you don't go to church. So that's a bad example, but I'm just saying in general, like this is just an example, not a real situation. But like one of us is saying, oh, let's go to church. And the other one's like, nah, I'm good. We're going to just be out in these streets on Friday and Saturday because we got things to do. We can't worry about what God's thinking. Like we're going to make all these decisions and, you know, this person is doing this to their girlfriend. Okay, it's cool. Like we don't have to treat her like Christ loved the church. We need to just treat her like she's any other person. Like I don't want that kind of mindset. Like I want to make sure that our thinking is on the same level. And I don't mean like we have to have the same IQ. I just mean that when it comes to things that are really core values, I want to make sure that we're aligned, especially if it's a person that I'm giving a chance. It's no reason for me to even go on a date if we are not equally yoked or we don't have the same core values because they're core values for a reason. Like having good character, being a good person, things like that really truly matter. I don't mean you're just nice to me because you want me. I mean, are you really a good person? And so things like that really matter. And I can't pretend like, oh, well, like most girls, and I'm not just trying to put girls out there. Like, and I said most, not all, because there's still some good women out there, just like there are good men out there. So, like some girls or some women will just say, oh, I'm just gonna go on a date because I want to go eat a meal. And I'm not that person. I don't want to sit and look at anybody that I know I don't want to be with. Like, I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to go out of my way to like take time away from my me dates. I don't want to take time away from self care just to be with spending precious time that I'll never get back with someone who I know I don't want to be with. Like that, I don't want to waste their time either because there could be another woman who has the same values as them, who wants the same things as them. And if I know that we're not equally yoked, it's no reason for us to even go there, you know? So, and I just don't like wasting people's time. I met this one guy literally who came to my door. And I know this isn't like a humble brag or anything like that. I'm just telling the story. And he asked me out and I wasn't ready at the time. And we were having a conversation about something because we talked about business stuff. And he said something, but I wasn't ready and I was super honest about it. And he was like, you know, I really respect that so much because most women would have pretended like they were good just to like try to get something out of it or do something else. And I was just straight up, I was straightforward. I wasn't disrespectful or rude. I was just like, hey, you know, like I really appreciate what you're saying. You know, it's awesome that you do this. And I just said that I'm just not ready right now. And the person was like, okay, you know, I really respect you saying that because a lot of women, like even when like there was a time that he was like, okay, well, I'm still gonna like be cool, you know, and then see if you're ready in like a couple weeks or a month or something else. And I was just like, yeah, just I don't know when I'm gonna be ready, and I can't ask any person to just wait around and waste their time when I don't know when I'm ready. And this is when I was like serious about healing, and I'm still serious about healing, but I was really like focused. I wasn't thinking about anyone in any kind of way at all. Like and it wasn't anything personal. Like all the guys that did ask me out and everything else, it was never anything personal. It was just I had to take care of myself so that when I do get ready, when God's ready for me to be in a position where I date or I meet the person, I need to make sure that I am the healthiest I could possibly be. I don't want to bring any toxicity into any new relationship. I want to make sure that I'm where God intended for me to be, not where I'm forcing myself to be. And I thought that was really important, especially since whew, I gotta move around a little bit. Okay. Especially since, you know, so many people are just jumping into relationships. Like I used to do it. I did. I used to just never heal. I would always just go from one relationship to the other, to the next. And I would just constantly do that, never allowing myself to heal. And it's funny because one day, one day in church, when I did go to church every once in a while before I rededicated my life to God. So I wasn't all the way gone, but I definitely didn't have like a relationship with God. I had like a praying, asking for things, coming to church every once in a while kind of relationship, not a I really devote my whole life to this like I am today. And I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. So I always say that because I don't want anyone to think that I'm just like one of those Christians that's just like, oh, you need to do this way. Like, no, you're on your own journey. If you need me, I'm here. Like, I can make an observation and help you out if you need me to. I'm not going to just shun you or act like you're doing something wrong when we all are human making mistakes. Like, that makes no sense. I can't sit here and judge you when I made the same mistakes. That makes no sense. So, I always try to be considerate of other people's feelings and the things that they've gone through and how they feel. And if they ask for my opinion, I'm honest. I am. I just have to be honest. I can't just pretend as if, oh, I don't have an opinion because it might be something that you don't want to hear. If you're asking me, you want to hear my opinion. So, and I do it in a gentle way. I don't do it like a, yeah, you're doing this like this. I go, you know, you really should consider this. I think that I see this and this, and you are trying here. This would be, I think this would be the best. And because I want to see you win, you know, something like that. I don't just like you need to like, I can't, because it's not my job to do that. And I'm just a person just like they are. We are on the same level. We are doing the same thing, trying to put one foot in front of the other every day to try to make it. That's it. And so it's just, it's real crazy. And I know I just had this thought come in my head. Nobody's probably thinking it, but let me just clear this up. I know you're probably thinking, why did you give the one guy a chance and not all the other guys? Because I was healed. I thought I was at a position where I was healed. And also, it's not that any of those guys had anything wrong with them. It's just that I wasn't ready. And also, also, I really was so afraid to make a mistake again. And even when I did give the one guy a chance, I was just so worried about messing up every single time. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this wrong. I'm going to say this wrong. I'm not going to be like perfect, which no one's perfect. So it was just these unrealistic expectations that I placed upon myself, and it was crazy. Like, I really felt like, I don't know what was going on with me. Like, I was really not like I expected I would be at all. I was really out of control. Like, I don't know. It was a hot mess. I was a hot mess the whole time. But you don't just come out the gate winning. So obviously, you gotta get some practice in. And I don't mean practice in that way. I mean, I just have to learn more about myself and the things that I want and don't want, or need and don't need, but not like I'm taking God's position, just like in a general stance. So when I am in a position like that, I'll know like communication is important. If it's no communication, I need to be gone. Reciprocity is important. If I'm the only person given, I can't be there. Like, things like that really truly matter, that are standards and not just preferences. And no, it's not always going to be easy. And you might see me on a video 3 months from now saying the same thing. Like, I'm just going to have to be doing some human error and learning as I go along, just like everybody else. I'm telling you because I'm hoping that because you hear that I went through it and maybe you see some inspiration or you see something that may be able to help you make a different choice, then you'll be able to choose differently in the future instead of making the same mistakes I did. That's what my hope is. Like, I hope that I get to be the person that messes up sometimes so that maybe you can avoid at least one mistake or one misstep instead of having to constantly keep making all of these back to back missteps. So it's just, earlier today, I was thinking about how I didn't get to be with that person. And before, if I'm being honest, because I know the person's not going to watch this and I feel comfortable saying this because by the time this video comes out, it won't matter anyways. So, so I really, I really was thinking about how grateful I was that God didn't let it work out, because it would have been everything I wanted and nothing that I needed. And honestly, it made me really sad. I wasn't feeling like confident and just sure of myself, and I didn't feel like myself because I was so worried about just how I was letting myself down. I didn't really have an opportunity to even like enjoy it. Like, I didn't really get a chance to just like be happy in the moment. I really just felt like I was constantly judging myself and constantly trying to be perfect. And it wasn't because of the person, it was just because I just had like this standard for myself, like this unrealistic standard for myself, like this is how I'm going to be, this is what I'm going to do. And when I did everything wrong, I just felt so disappointed in myself, and it was really hard to be confident and sure of myself when I was messing up so badly. Like, I I did so bad. Mm-mm-mm. But it is what it is, and that's the past. And so I just it's crazy. But I am real grateful that God didn't give me what I wanted. And He's going to wait to give me what I need, because it really showed me where I was spiritually. It allowed me to see how I could let something so trivial just change my whole perspective. And like I said, it wasn't that I was doubtful that God was going to do what He said He was going to do. I just felt like if I can't be with a person who is perfect, pretty much, then what could God possibly have for me? Like, did God forgive me? Like, is he still mad because I made all the mistakes and because I did all those bad things in the past? Like, I just started going down this rabbit hole, like, and God's not like humans. He's so forgiving and so he has so much grace and mercy for us. But in my mind, that's how I was feeling at the time. I was really feeling like maybe God changed his mind. Maybe he really doesn't want to do this. Maybe he wants me, to suffer because I've made so many mistakes in the past. Maybe he just felt like, I thought you were the person for the job, but because you just you didn't discern at the beginning, because you did this way. And I just that's one of the things I'm struggling with now is hearing God. So I hear him when it's just me and him. When it comes to like a person that enters into my life or someone that I'm talking to or something like that, or a job, it's like I will I have trouble hearing when God wants me to move, if that makes any sense. So I'm like, okay, if I stay, I do have to make a decision, but since I haven't heard from God, then I make a decision and I haven't got God's backing on it, and the decision ends up being horrible. Or it's like I'm not spending enough quiet time to hear God, I guess. And so it's like I just like, for example, I met this person and I was so in my head that when I met the person, God was like trying to give me an opportunity to do something. And I gave the opportunity away because I got in my head. Not because God didn't present an opportunity for me. He was like, you just sit back and I'm going to do everything. And afterwards, God's like, when I say sit back, I don't mean do nothing. Like, when I am making something work for your good. Faith without works is dead. You need to do something. Like, don't just do nothing. Like, just don't jump ahead of me. Like, follow behind me and do what it is that I need you to do. You don't need to do anything else. Just do that. And and I completely gave up this opportunity that God had given me. And I didn't know it was an opportunity at the time. I was just like, okay, well, God's saying this is going to happen. Let me just go ahead and not do anything. And God was like, I didn't tell you to not do anything. I said, don't move until I tell you to. And that was, even though I wasn't spending time talking to God in that moment because I was talking to someone else, that was the moment that I was supposed to say something. That was the moment that I was supposed to do something. And I did nothing. And I missed the opportunity. And Satan tried to play on my insecurity like, you'll never get another opportunity like this. And I had to remind myself that God is the God of abundance. He would never, just like he gave me that one opportunity, he can give me another one. And I just had to remind myself that. And before we get too far gone, because it's been a long time and I was supposed to do like my whole like de-stress thing and everything else, and I did not do that. And it's really, really late. I need to be getting in the bed soon because by the time I try to do that stuff now, it's going to be way too late to do anything. And so earlier today, I was spending some time alone with God, and I was just reflecting on, you know, the things that I did. Like, I really went ahead of God when I met that person who I gave a chance. They just seemed perfect, and no one's perfect. I know that. And I just was like, I don't understand why God wouldn't agree. And then when I felt the pullback, I discerned with God, and I went through this spiritual, emotional warfare like crazy. Like, the whole time I was trying to discern, it was up and down. It was like this cycle of emotions that were flooding me. And I think it's because I'm empathetic, but I'm not sure. But it just, it was so hard to get a real answer because it was like, I don't know if it was Satan, and Satan knew that it was going to distract me from my purpose. So he just wanted me to not see the answer, or if it was like a part of me, like really wanting it, really wanting the person, even though I barely know them, and which is weird. And like I would feel like, and I went ahead of God. God told me to wait 3 months, and I was like, but this person's perfect. Why would I wait 3 months so that, and then God's like, anything I have for you is for you. So it's not like you're going to miss out on anything, which I knew, but then Satan was like, oh yeah, like this, like, and just kept trying to play with my mind. And I went for it prematurely before ahead of God. And it was a catastrophe. It was really horrible. Everything went wrong. Everything was wrong. The timing was wrong. Everything was so bad. And it really made me feel like crap because when God is ahead of me, I don't feel insecure. I feel like completely content with whatever happens because I know God's going to take care of it. When I went ahead of God, I was so insecure because I really felt like, is this right? Am I doing this right? Do I need to do this? Like, I just kept second guessing myself the entire time because God wasn't there with me. And anytime you make a decision without God, it's never going to feel peaceful. It's never going to feel the contentment that you need to be able to make good decisions. And in essence, or in hindsight, that's what allowed me to go down this huge rabbit hole. Like, it was bad. Like, I really got so distracted. I really got so in my head. It really just threw me so far off course. I just started doubting myself again. I started feeling like I started stopped doing my fashion stuff. Like, it just really started like messing with me, and I just felt like I couldn't prove to myself that I was good enough. I couldn't prove to myself that I actually could stand up for myself because I never got the opportunity because we had no communication. It just it's like the devil was like, "See, you'll never be able to stand up with for yourself. See, no one will ever want to hear what you actually have to say." Like, even though God had me write this book, it's like no one's going to care about that, you know? And it was really just him. Like, every step of the way because I decided to go ahead of God. It allowed me to be more insecure. It allowed me to feel like I wasn't doing anything right, even though if I had just followed God, I would have felt content. I would have been okay. It would have been whatever God intended for it to be. Maybe it was always going to be like this. Maybe, like, in my head, if I waited on God, maybe because we had similar stories, we could have been there for one another. And maybe it wasn't going to be in a romantic way, but it could have been in a friend way. Maybe it could have been in a, like, one human being kind to another kind of way. And that was like what I had hoped for from the beginning, was something like that, even if it wasn't romantic, even if it didn't end up being anything else. And it was not even that. It was nothing at all. It was just like two people who just communicated really well in person together. That's it. Who were probably attracted to each other. That's another thing. But but that's it. And so earlier today, while I was taking some time just reflecting with God and really just thinking about some scriptures and thinking about the decisions that I made, that I hope that because you heard my story, you know I'm human too, and you'll be able to make a better decision instead of just jumping ahead of God, or instead of accepting breadcrumbs. You'll really go for the full meal. You'll really go for everything that God has for you instead of what it is that you think that you need. And so what I wrote down is, you guard your heart, because you know the Bible says guard your heart at all costs, because your heart is one of the most precious things that you have. If someone can penetrate your heart, they can destroy your spirit, your mind, everything, which is why it needs to be guarded. Does it need to have like a electrical fence around it and all this extra stuff? No, because when the right person comes along, you're going to need to be able to give them your heart, not give them permission to crush you, but to be vulnerable. And so it says, you guard your heart and God takes care of your soul. Because as long as you give your obedience and you're willing to sacrifice for God, He's got you. He really does. And I'm so sorry that I ever doubted God, ever, because when God showed me what He actually has for me, the things that I thought that I wanted from the other person, and the things that I actually need these things, is what this other person has. And no, I'm not. I don't want to say anything like that. I'm not with anyone or anything like that. It's not like I met the one. Okay. It's not like I'm with the one or anything like that. It's just that I know this person. I know of this person who I never thought about it, but God did. And I'm not saying anything like to like for, foreshadowing or whatever to make this story like cryptic or anything like that. I'm just saying that, and I think God showed me this because sometimes we really feel like there's nothing better than the thing that we have or the thing that we want, when God definitely knows us better than we know ourselves. And He knows what it is that we really need. And everything that God is going to do for you is going to be abundant. It's going to be bigger than that. It's going to be bigger than anything that you can imagine. And I took a picture, a screenshot of this because I always mention it in almost every video. Like, I don't know why it always comes up, but this is the thing that I always talk about. Can you see it? Probably can't see it. You still can't see it. If I turn it that way, this is the thing that I'm always talking about. It says God has something better. You see how the little girl is holding the small teddy bear, and God is just telling her to let it go to give her the bigger teddy bear behind her? That's exactly how God does for us. God just showed me this person who is a good communicator, who has consistency, who has reciprocity. And I'm not saying this is a real person. I don't know any person. I haven't met anybody. Nothing's happening on my end. But I'm just telling you that you just have to have faith for things that are, hope for things that are unseen. You have to have faith. You have to be willing to know that regardless of how good something is in your life, the job, the car, the money, the clothes, the house, the friend, the relationship, the situationship, the person that you encounter, whoever it is, regardless of what or how perfect the thing is that you think that you want, it will never be anything in comparison to what you actually need, to what God is going to give you. Because God will always make sure you have everything. He will supply all of your needs. He's a God that He cannot lie. If God promised you that you will be taken care of, you will be taken care of. If God promised you that you are going to be married in a relationship, married, then you're going to be married. If God promised you a child, you're going to have a child. There's more than one way to have a child. If God promised you that you are going to be whatever it is that God has already promised you, He is going to give it to you. He's not going to just pretend like He's going to give you something and then say, oh, I changed my mind. This isn't for you. God's not like just a cruel God. He's a God that wants you to be happy. He wants you to have love and kindness in your life. He really wants you to be at your best, to have the peace and the joy that you've always been searching for. And earlier today, when I finally felt peace in my spirit about the perfect person, I really like, because my mind and my soul has been like at conflict. Like, my mind's like, okay, you need to like pick yourself up. You really need to just be back to where you are so that you can help all these other women that need you. Like, people in my family, my friends, people that I come in contact with that really look to me for inspiration, that really look to me for help, that really need me. And I really wasn't able to be there for them the way that I really should have been there for them, because I was so hard on myself. I really just felt like, why are they even looking to me when I can't even be that for myself? And it was really hard to help them, because all of the hope that I had been having just felt like hope deferred. It really just felt like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just felt like I had nothing else to give anybody else, because I was trying to pull so much into something that wasn't for me. And it's true, you can't should never go for anything that isn't God. Anything like, and it doesn't even have to be good or bad. Like, I think we have this weird idea that in order for it to be something that you shouldn't have, it needs to be bad. But it could be something that's good. It could be a person that's kind, that's good. But just because they're kind and good does not mean that that's what you need. Like, you might need someone who's kind, but that might not be the other characteristics, the other things might not be what it is that would be good for you. And if I'm being honest, if I would have gotten that, I would have been so distracted. I wouldn't have focused. I would have always been trying to be something that I'm not. I would have settled for doing everything that I could to make sure that that person was good at the expense of me being good. I would have. I would have. I would have probably given up some things that I shouldn't have even given up. I I know it sounds crazy. It's so crazy. It really is. So it makes no sense. I know I would have allowed myself to be miserable just so that person could be happy, which doesn't make any sense because both people can be happy. So I'm just like really thanking God because, oh my gosh, like, can you imagine if God gave you everything that you that you wanted? It would be crazy. It would be crazy. It would be disastrous. It really would. And I'm so thankful and grateful that God doesn't give me what I want, but he gives me what I need because he knows that I definitely shouldn't have had that. And it's not that that person did anything wrong at all. It's just that that person just was not the person for me. That person would not have brought the best out of me. I wouldn't have been at my full potential because I wouldn't have tried to be less than, but I would have been super distracted and my energy would have been focused on that person instead of myself. I would have, because there wasn't much communication, it would have made me feel like I needed to do more, which would have pulled from another area. It would have, I wouldn't have been able to be as confident as I need to be in certain rooms when I'm talking and making business deals and doing things like that because I wouldn't have felt good enough. And it wasn't that that person said you're not good enough, but their actions said it. And I know because, and I'm not saying this like I'm just automatically assuming I know what this person is thinking, but I know this person's intention wasn't to make me feel like I was nothing or to like try to bring me down. It was just that when you stay too long, you make yourself feel that way. When you are breadcrumb, do you make yourself feel that way when you stay? When you know that something isn't right and you stay anyways, you make yourself feel that way. When you when you know that someone is not for you and you stay anyways, you make yourself go through that. When you know it's not going anywhere and you stay, you are making yourself go through all of those things. So it's nothing to do with that person because that person is just going to do whatever's beneficial for them. They're not thinking about how it's wearing you out. They're not thinking about how emotionally toxic it could be. They're not thinking about how it's changing your personality or how it's draining you or how it's making you feel worthless. They're only thinking about how they are doing because they're doing the right thing, taking care of themselves, which is what you should be doing. You should be making sure that you're good. You should be making sure that you have everything that you need. You cannot make someone who will who is not for you see your value. No one who is not for you will ever be able to truly see your value. And just like the pastor said in the sermon yesterday, it's not that you're valueless, it's that that person isn't the person for you. It's just that, and it's not that they're a bad person. It's just that God will, the pastor said this, I'm paraphrasing, that God will hide you from a person who could be a perfectly good person because they are not what you need, because they're not your person. And you could be the best thing since sliced bread. but they will never be able to see it because they're not for you and you're not for them. But when the person comes along who's actually for you, they will see what God needed them to see in you. And so I did write down something else, but I don't know what I did with it. So, so in conclusion, when it comes to your soul, let God take care of it. Give yourself completely to Him. Just allow Him to take the reins, do everything that He needs to do, because you cannot do God's job better than Him. I promise you. When you jump ahead of Him, it's going to be disastrous. It's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to be an epic fail. And you might feel like you got this. You might feel like, oh, but I could do this because God didn't say no. If God didn't say yes, it's a no, okay? Don't try to make up like in your mind, well, He didn't really say this. He did say 3 months later, so let me go ahead. Like, no, stop paraphrasing. Stop trying to put words in God's mouth. Stop trying to do the most. Like, stop trying to jump ahead of God. You don't know what His plan was going to be. He might say this person is like, it could be good. He doesn't mean that this is your person. This is just a person. This person could be good because it could be something that you guys have mutual things in common. Who knows? But just know when God tells you yes, you will be able to hear it. When you are using discernment and this is the person for you, this is the job for you, this is the thing that you're supposed to be at, it will be clear as day. And I'm not saying that you will hear from God the same way that I do. I'm just saying that God's yes is a yes for real. Like, I asked God a question about something, and His yes was so clear that it allowed me to see what the no really looked like. Like Him saying different things that were kind of cryptic. God, they were a little cryptic. I was trying to figure it out, but I was like, okay. Instead of like me just taking my time and like really trying to discern what was going on and asking God for His help, I didn't do that. And so you really do have to figure out what it is that God wants for you, and know that if you guard your heart, God will take care of your soul.